Thank you so much for your comments. I just had a quick question. I know you pointed out in your message that there are lots of people like Richard Dawkins and those that adopt that anti-theistic approach, and something I think is sometimes prevalent when we have conversations with people that we meet. And so my question is, how would you suggest that we can approach people that have a very strong, commitment to this kind of position?
As the Dawkins and all of them, how we have that kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. I think it's very important that we understand the kind of era in which we live. The old idea is any stigma can lick a good dogma. And if Christianity or faith has been stigmatized as that of the non-thinker and the non-questioner, no matter what you say, they're going to think, you're living on some mountain somewhere with a guru. You're really not in touch with reality. Friendships are very critical. Meaningful conversations are very important. Learn to do your homework and answer the questions that are being asked, and learn to ask the right kind of questions. When you question people, it opens them up within their own assumptions. And oftentimes that systemic contradiction, when it is exposed, becomes quite jarring to their own way of thinking. I have my colleague here in the front row, Nabeel Qureshi, who's a medical doctor by profession and then picked up a couple of degrees in theology since. He's one of our newest apologists. Nabeel comes from a Muslim background of Pakistani stock and gives a tremendous defense of the Christian faith. It took him several years of university engagement with a capable young Christian thinker who not only answered his questions but asked the right questions, took him on a journey of thought, and 7 years ago it led to his own journey to Christ and his commitment. I'm sure David, who began dealing with him, and this probably thought this guy is a kind of a hard-boiled egg, I'm never going to get through to him. And yet the changing of a person's heart is really not your prerogative or mine. Only God's big enough to do that. But God uses us as instruments. One of the great criticisms a skeptic often has is that they think we haven't done our homework. Now, we can't be masters of every discipline, but try to understand the discipline in which they're raising their question. Find an authority, find a book, find a lecture, find a debate, and say, I want you to listen to this and tell me what you think of it. We get an awful lot of telephone calls from young people who've been put onto our website or whatever to have their questions answered. So do your best, A, in earning the right to be heard. Make sure you're living the life. If you know Christ, you have to follow him. But make sure it may go here, but it has to bridge to here. The head has to connect to the heart. And we see incredible transformations as we go. And today, when I woke up, one of the first emails I saw was from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of a country I will leave unnamed. He writes me this beautiful letter, and he just says, I want to meet you. I've been reading your books, listening to the CDs. I have come to know Christ from a completely different religious background. He said, where will you be in these months of the year? I'd like to fly in and see you. This is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of one of the most economically strong nations in the world, who just has opened up a conversation. And we get things like this all the time. Don't lose heart. When you get this thrown at you, I'd rather have it thrown at me than somebody say, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. You've got to engage in discussion, so don't lose heart in it. Three of the most dramatic conversions after the resurrection, who were they? Saul of Tarsus, changed history. Thomas, the guy who said, I want to see, touch, feel. Where does he go? It's to him that Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes unto the Father except through me. Where does he go? He goes to India with 330 million deities. Who were the first he reached? The highest caste, the Nambudris, the priests of Kerala, India. My ancestors were Nambudris. I come from that caste. He reached them for Christ and took the gospel within the first generation. And the third was Jesus' brother James himself. And so you see, these three transformations, nobody would have given the time of day to Saul of Tarsus. But when they lowered him over the wall, they did not know what a history maker he was going to be with the gospel. You never know who's in your basket. Okay.
Great.
Thanks so much. All right.
Thank you all.